Happy Hanukkah, everybody. This is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Even Stevens Season 1, A Heck of a Hanukkah. This was the only holiday special around December for Even Stevens. Even Stevens is it feels like one of the stepping stones of the Disney Channel days back in the day. This was when Disney Channel was completely different, where it didn't revolve around a main female and her family, but instead it revolved around these two kids, a brother and sister duo that constantly kept bickering one another. And it was a very hilarious show. And it was one of my all-time favorites. And sadly, it had the old Disney formula of only lasting for 2 or 3 seasons with a certain amount of episodes. I think about 60 or so. And then it got canceled. But it got canceled when it was in the height of its popularity and everything. But Disney Channel had their rule back then. That all changed with That's So Raven, where shows were allowed to go on till 4 and 5, and now Bunked is in its 6th season. And so the Lewis, the Stevens family, because they're half Jewish and half Christian, and so on the Stevens mom side, they're Jewish. So this episode has to do with Hanukkah, which is kind of cool because you never really see any Hanukkah type episodes. You know what I'm saying? And especially on Disney Channel of all things, and so. This episode starts off with Lewis, played by Shia LaBeouf. I gotta say, it's sad how his career ended. Not ended, but how it ended up. How his life ended up and stuff. 'Cause he's such a talented person. So sad, you know what I'm saying? And ironically, after he left Disney Channel, have you noticed he's never done another comedy? He only done dramas and action movies, but I've never seen him in a comedy role since. Which is weird, because back in those days, he was all about comedy and stuff. So anyway, it starts off with him, and he's in his sister Ren's room. Now, Ren and Lewis are the stars of the show. They're the ones who always fighting and bickering one another and stuff like that. He is the wild child, goofy, silly person, and she's the straightforward A student type student. And so she's in her room, and he's in there. He's in the closet. He's in her crawl space. He's looking for Hanukkah gifts. And so she makes him leave. And as he's about to leave, he's also a bumbling idiot. So he knocks over a bunch of stuff. He knocks over her soda onto her books. And he knocks over her vision board and something else he knocked over. So she's furious and doing what she always does, chases him. Well, she chases him into his brother, their brother Donnie room. Now, Donnie is the meathead of the show. He's older, he's in college, he's an athlete, he's really dumb. And so, he has one of his, new trophies that he got because he's such a good athlete. And he's telling Lewis, look at my trophy and everything. And then Ren comes in and she's like, I'm going to hurt you. So then he's running around Donnie's bed like an idiot, and he knocks over every trophy and stuff. So of course now Donnie is mad at him, and they chase into the living room where the parents are at. And so that's Lewis for you. Now Lewis has a very unique dressing style. He always wears colorful baggy pants, a regular t-shirt, and a bowling shirt over that. And his bowling shirts are very decorative, almost like Hawaiian shirts that's always unbuttoned. And so he makes his way into the basement and stuff. And so while the other two kids are in the kitchen with the mom, she's cooking the Hanukkah dinner. I think she's cooking a turkey, I believe. And so Lewis is down in the basement and he's just searching for the gifts. And so he's looking and he's looking where would they hide them and stuff. And then he gets up and he realizes he's sitting on a trunk with a paper on there. And it tells him when he please clean out the trunk. He's like, I ain't gonna do that. But then he's like, well, hold up. This is the one place they know I would never look. He opens it up and boom, there are all the presents. Being greedy as he is, he puts them in a bag and he takes them up to his attic room. And so he starts like going through the gifts. Now at this point in time, the mom is telling the meaning of Hanukkah and why they celebrate. Now, I always knew part of this story growing up, but I didn't know the other part. So, like, I already knew the part about like the Jewish people living in Israel and they were being oppressed and driven from their like they were driven from like their country because they wanted them because these people wanted them to give up their religious beliefs. So then, this is the part I didn't know. There's a group of soldiers known as the Maccabees, and they fought those oppressors off and everything. Now, the other part that I did know is that they went into like a chapel at night to like hide out, and then they had like a candle, an oil candle. They only had enough oil in there for like one day to keep the candle lit. But somehow, miraculously, it stayed lit for 8 days and 8 nights. And that's why on Hanukkah, they celebrate for 8 days, and they have that candle thing that I think it's called a menorah that they light. It has like 8 candle holders to it. We put like 8 candles to it, and so that part I knew. The army part I didn't. And so then the dad goes up to go get Lewis. Well, when he hears his dad coming, he gets scared because he's going through the gifts, right? So he puts the bag and he dumps them outside the window, and then he closes the window so it holds the gifts in place. But the gifts are so heavy, they're sliding. So he tells his dad he's gonna come out, and then next thing you know, crash. The presents hit the ground and they all break. And dad's all like, what is that? And then the dad's like freaking out. The whole family's freaking out. They are fuming mad at Lewis, man. Because they want to know, like, why? Why does he always does the dumb things that he do? And now they say, you ruined Hanukkah and you're grounded and all this other stuff. So he goes up to his room and he's all like pissed. He's not upset that he ruined Hanukkah. He's more upset at talking about how he doesn't belong in that family and he wish he was never born. Because he's the different one in the family. Because like I said, he's the troublemaker, like goofy one. Ren is the smart one. Donnie is the athlete. And the two parents, the mom is like a senator. And the dad, I don't know what the dad does. But he has a business. He wears like a suit and everything. And so like, then next thing you know, it's one of those holiday specials, right? Where somebody comes from like the past and like shows them what their life would be like if they were never like born. And so like it's his great grandmother and stuff, played of course by his actual mother on the show. So she gets to do double duty and stuff. So they got her in like old makeup and whoo, they got her looking old with gray hair and everything. And she's like really like wow by all the new technology they got. Of course, he's freaking out because she's like a ghost and he's done his like typical like girl scream type thing, which he is so great and known for doing back in those days. So she shows him, you know, what life would be like if he was never born. So she I don't know why she flew him around like the sky because they lived in the same house that they always lived in, but whatever. So, none of his friends appear in this episode, and neither does Beans. It's just the family. And so they go back and they see the family, and they're acting as normal could be. And so they're in ghost form, nobody can see them. And then all of a sudden, here comes the new Lewis and everything. And the new Lewis looks kind of like the other Lewis, but not really. And this Lewis is like a straight A student and a high achiever, a child prodigy and stuff like that. The whole family's all like, oh, aren't you special? But then, so Lewis is kind of like, so you showed me a life without me being born and my family's perfect? She's like, oh, but you just wait, because it's one of those specials. So then we see Ren going up to her room. Ren, without Lewis, has become a wild child now. Wearing a biker jacket, pierced like spiky stuff, and she has a boyfriend who rides a motorcycle. Donnie has become just a nerd and a coward, and the only thing he's good at is spelling. And he wears glasses now. Then we see just how miserable their lives really are even more. The new Lewis comes in. He is a tyrant. So he is bullying both his brother and sister, calling Donnie an idiot who can only spell and stuff like that. And so then all of a sudden, Lewis' great grandmother, she does some like magical stuff, and now he can appear to everybody else. He no longer can walk through walls, and everybody can see him. So they're all like, "Who are you? And how did you get in our house?" And then so he's like, "Oh, I'm a ghost. See, watch. I'm gonna walk through this wall." Boom. Doesn't work. So then somehow he ends up like charming them. I think because making them laugh. Because that's something they're not allowed to do. They're not allowed to laugh with the other Lewis and stuff. So he tells them, I wish I had brothers and sisters like you who accept me for who I am and this and that. So then he goes downstairs and he meets like his mom and dad. Of course, they don't know who he is. And they're all like, "You're not allowed to have guests in the house. Lewis doesn't allow that," and all this other stuff. So then he's all like, "Well, I'll help out with the turkey and everything." So he picks it up, but then he drops it. And then they laugh and everything. So then he puts like the turkey on his head and he starts like dancing and stuff. It's not a turkey or it's a chicken. It's pretty big. It looks like a turkey, but anyway. So Lewis sees this and doesn't like it. So he steals the Hanukkah money and puts it in the other Lewis jacket. And so like, then he's all like, "I look for the Hanukkah money, it's not here." They look in Lewis' jacket. Well, that's when the family turns on him. And so then they start interrogating him. Talking about, "Oh, the only reason why you came here because you stole our money." And da, 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 da. So then he's all like, "All right, Grandma, I'm ready to go home." He starts clicking his heels and everything, like the Wizard of Oz. But then he wakes up from his nightmare. And that's really what the whole thing was about. Or so you think. And then so like, I forget, his parents go to him and they tell him, like Hanukkah won't be the same without you, and stuff like that. And so I don't even know if he apologizes or not. I think he does. But then at some point, an old lady comes into the house with a pink tracksuit on. And then so she has all their Hanukkah gifts restored. Now, of course, it's the great grandmother. They don't recognize her and stuff because they never met her from hundreds of years ago, right? And they don't even question why this woman is in their house. So that's a weird plot hole right there. And then, so they're like, "These are our Hanukkah gifts. Like, they're like not broken. How did you do that?" But then she disappears and everything. Then Lewis sees her in the window. She kisses him goodbye, like a blowing kiss type thing. And, if they were going to get the mom to play like the great grandmother lady, they could at least change her nails up because they're a little modern. So then, like, the family's playing with the dreidel and they have like these coins and I forgot what Lewis says towards the end, but then it ends on like a good note and stuff like that. And and it's kind of like, in a way, he didn't learn his lesson because he didn't really feel sorry. He just feels sorry for himself not being born because he sees how terrible his family would be and stuff. So he sees the importance of him being alive, but he doesn't necessarily feel bad for like breaking the gifts and everything. But he only feels like a little sad. And that's kind of like how Lewis is, you know what I'm saying? He's just like the troublemaker, goofy kid and stuff. And so, like, we've seen this pattern repeat itself. Like Lizzie McGuire, they had the brother sister who couldn't get along, but it was mostly about Lizzie and not so much about Matt. And so, like, this was one of those great Disney Channel shows that was back on Zoog Disney, Zoog. And man, I used to have such a great time. I remember one time when I came home for college and Zoog Disney was on, they used to have like these marathons for the new year. So I was watching like all the great shows from back in the day. Lizzie McGuire, That's So Raven, back when I used to like that show. Even Stevens and some of the other stuff. And then they'll have like music videos. Oh, it was so good back then. Disney Channel has changed a lot. It's so juvenile now, but they've gotten away a little bit from that and starting to like up their ante and stuff. Bah humbug, that was a good episode. All right, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Bye.